The 10 most interesting facts about Philo of Alexandria. Delve into the life of Philo of Alexandria, the philosopher who transformed ancient thought by combining Greek and Jewish traditions, leaving a lasting legacy in religion and philosophy. Number 10. A contradictory figure. Philo of Alexandria is often remembered as a contradictory figure in the history of Jewish and Hellenistic thought. Throughout his life, Philo sought to harmonize two worlds, that of traditional Jewish thought and Greek philosophy, especially Platonism. This ambition led him to adopt an allegorical approach to the Hebrew Scriptures, interpreting them in a way that revealed universal philosophical truths in line with Platonic ideas about form, goodness, and existence. While his method was innovative and enriching for many, it also sparked criticism. Purists from both traditions saw him as someone who diluted or deviated from the pure teachings of their respective heritages, making him a figure of intense debate and divergent evaluations. The controversy surrounding Philo stems not only from his synthesis of Judaism and Hellenism, but also from how his interpretations influenced later developments within Christianity and other philosophical traditions. His concepts of the Logos, for example, had a significant impact on Christian theology, where they were adapted to explain the nature of Christ as the divine Word. For Christians, this adaptation was seen as a prophetic revelation, while for some Jews, it represented a problematic deviation from monotheistic theology. Thus, Philo remains a witness to the eternal challenge of bridging different cultures and systems of thought, a legacy that continues to provoke both admiration and controversy. Number 9. Lost and surviving works. Philo of Alexandria, despite being a prolific writer and thinker of his time, has many of his works lost in the mists of history. The surviving works, however, constitute an invaluable source of knowledge about the fusion of Hellenistic Judaism and Greek philosophy, as well as about the life and times in which he lived. These texts, including philosophical treatises, biblical commentaries, and historical accounts, have provided scholars with a unique window into the intellectual and spiritual traditions of the ancient world. Philo's writings, spanning diverse topics such as ethics, metaphysics, and politics, are especially valued for their focus on the allegorical interpretation of the Bible, seeking to harmonize Jewish religious teachings with Platonic philosophy. The reason why many of Philo's works have been lost could be attributed to various factors, including the fragmentary transmission of ancient texts and the turbulent historical conditions that followed his era. However, what has survived offers ample material to appreciate the depth and breadth of his thinking. These texts have not only helped historians better understand the interaction between Jewish and Greek cultures, but have also influenced later theological and philosophical developments, especially in how early Christian communities interpreted their own scriptures. Therefore, Philo's works act as a bridge between diverse streams of thought, and their study remains essential for those interested in the origins of Western thought and the roots of intercultural and interreligious dialogue. Number 8. Influence on early Christianity. Philo of Alexandria exerted a notable influence on early Christianity, especially through his concept of the Logos, an idea he described as an intermediary force between God and the material world. This concept proved crucial in the development of early Christian theology, particularly in how church fathers articulated the nature of Christ. Philo's interpretation of the Logos as an entity that not only interprets divine will, but also acts as a bridge between heaven and earth, found a striking parallel in Christian doctrines about the incarnate Word of God. This allowed Christian theologians to use Philo's ideas to further develop their explanations of how the divine and the human coexist in the figure of Jesus. Furthermore, Philo's methodology in using allegorical exegesis to interpret the Hebrew Scriptures also had a lasting impact on how Christian leaders approached sacred texts. Church fathers such as Clement of Alexandria and Origen adopted and adapted Philo's allegorical approach to explore and explain the complexities of Christian texts. This approach not only enriched Christian theological interpretation, but also provided an intellectual tool to defend and promote the Christian faith in a highly pluralistic and often hostile environment. Thus, Philo's legacy in early Christianity is manifested not only in doctrinal theology, but also in hermeneutical methodology, demonstrating his role as an essential figure in shaping Christian thought. Number 7. Affected by civil conflicts. Philo of Alexandria lived during a period of great political and social upheaval in Alexandria, a time marked by civil conflicts between different ethnic and social groups, including Jews and Greeks. These disturbances not only affected daily life in the city, but also deeply influenced Philo's work and perspectives as a thinker and community leader. His personal experience with violence and discrimination, especially evident during the repression of the Roman Emperor Caligula against the Jews, is reflected in his writing and thinking. This direct confrontation with injustice and conflict provided him with a real context to explore themes of divine law, justice, and the nature of evil in his works, topics he addressed with a depth and urgency that only direct experience can provide. The influence of these conflicts on Philo's work can also be seen in his focus on the need for ethical and philosophical guidance in times of crisis. In his writings, he sought to offer not only theological or philosophical interpretations, but also practical solutions for living a virtuous life in challenging circumstances. His efforts to mediate and communicate between the diverse communities of Alexandria highlight his commitment to promoting peace and mutual understanding. This background of conflict underscores many of his comments on Mosaic law and Greek philosophy, attempting to build bridges between divided communities through a common approach to wisdom and virtue. Thus, civil unrest not only formed the backdrop of his life, but also shaped his intellectual legacy, leaving an indelible mark on his work and influence on later generations. Number 6. Hellenistic education. Philo of Alexandria, born and raised in one of the most eclectic and cultural cities of the ancient world, received an education deeply rooted in Hellenistic traditions. Alexandria was a vibrant center of learning and philosophy, where Greek culture intertwined with Egyptian and Semitic elements, providing Philo with a unique environment for his intellectual formation. Educated in the works of Plato, Aristotle, and other Greek philosophers, Philo gained mastery in philosophy that he later sought to integrate with his deep Jewish roots. This education not only provided him with the intellectual tools necessary for his project of cultural and religious synthesis, but also positioned him as a mediator between cultures in a time of great tensions and changes. The influence of his Hellenistic education is evident in the way Philo applied Greek philosophical methods to Jewish texts, particularly in his use of allegory to interpret the scriptures. His approach was not merely academic, but had a practical and spiritual purpose, seeking to extract and explain the universal truths contained in the Hebrew texts. This methodology not only expanded the scope of biblical interpretation, but also helped to create a bridge between Judaism and the Greco-Roman world, facilitating a broader dialogue between these cultures. In doing so, Philo demonstrated how education in a Hellenistic context could be used to enrich and deepen understanding of one's own tradition, rather than replace it, illustrating the power of education in promoting intercultural understanding. Number 5. Pioneer of allegorical interpretation. Philo of Alexandria is widely recognized as a pioneer in the allegorical interpretation of scriptures, an approach that marked a milestone in the history of biblical exegesis. His methodology went beyond reading the sacred texts literally. Instead, he sought deeper and philosophical meanings in them that resonated with the ideals of Greek philosophy, especially Platonism. This allegorical method allowed Philo to explore and explain complex and abstract themes such as creation, the existence of God, and the nature of the soul through biblical passages that, at first glance, seemed to be about historical events or specific religious laws. His ability to link these themes with universal and enduring questions demonstrated his profound understanding of both philosophy and his Jewish faith, establishing a lasting legacy in the approach to religious texts. The impact of Philo's allegorical interpretation transcended the realm of Judaism and had a considerable influence on the later development of Christian thought, especially in the way the Church Fathers interpreted the Scriptures. By applying an allegorical approach, Philo provided a model that Christian theologians could and indeed did use to articulate central doctrines of Christianity, such as the Incarnation and the Trinity, in intellectually coherent ways within the context of the predominant Greco-Roman philosophy. Furthermore, his work helped legitimize and propagate the practice of seeking levels of meaning beyond the evident text, fostering a tradition of biblical interpretation that is both rich and multidimensional, and continues to influence theological studies to this day. Number 4. Family troubles with power. Philo of Alexandria, although best known for his philosophical and theological contributions, was also deeply involved in the politics of his time, partly due to his family's prominence. His brother, Alexander the Alabarch, held a prominent position in Alexandria as the royal treasurer, responsible for tax collection and the administration of the empire's finances in Egypt. This direct connection to Roman power placed Philo's family in a position of considerable influence but also exposed them to significant risks, especially in a period of political instability and ethnic tensions in Alexandria. The family's political prominence not only increased their vulnerability to changes in imperial favor but also placed them at the center of local power struggles. Alexander's role as a central figure in the economic administration of the empire could have influenced the public perception of Philo and his family among the Jewish community and more broadly in Alexandria, a fact that Philo had to handle with caution. On one hand, this relationship with the established power offered Philo a platform from which he could advocate for the rights and welfare of the Jews in Alexandria, as evidenced in his embassy to the Emperor Caligula. On the other hand, it could have generated distrust or envy among his fellow citizens, both Jewish and non-Jewish, who saw Philo's family as having a too close alliance with the Roman oppressors. This precarious balance between influence and vulnerability is a recurring theme in Philo's life and reflects the complexities of being an intellectual and political leader in a time of great turmoil. Number 3. A cosmopolitan citizen. Philo of Alexandria, a true cosmopolitan citizen, lived in one of the most diverse and culturally rich cities of the ancient world. Alexandria, under Roman rule, was a melting pot of cultures, a place where Egyptians, Greeks, Jews, Romans, and many other peoples intertwined. This diversity not only influenced the environment in which Philo operated but also enriched his thinking, allowing him to interact with a variety of philosophical and religious traditions. His education and life in such a vibrant center of commerce and learning provided him with a unique perspective, reflected in his attempt to merge Greek philosophy with Judaism. This synthesis, though controversial, demonstrates his ability to cross cultural boundaries and seek unity in diversity. As a citizen of Alexandria, Philo was not only a witness to the confluence of paths and traditions but also actively participated in the public life of his city. This participation was not without challenges, especially given the ethnic and social conflicts that often disturbed the city's peace. His work reflects these tensions, always seeking to promote a deeper understanding between divergent groups through philosophical and theological dialogue. Philo's ability to engage with multiple audiences, from Greek scholars to Jewish leaders, and his commitment to applying the principles of philosophy to ethics and politics, distinguish him as an emblematic figure of ancient cosmopolitanism. This interaction between diverse cultures and his ability to interpret and synthesize varieties of thought are fundamental aspects of his legacy, which remain relevant in studies of antiquity and intercultural dialogue. Number 2. Advocate of asceticism. Philo of Alexandria, although primarily known for his philosophical and theological work, also stood out for his defense and admiration of ascetic life, particularly evident in his detailed description of the Therapeutae, a group of Jewish monks in Egypt. These individuals dedicated their lives to prayer, meditation, and the study of scriptures, living in communities away from the bustle of everyday life. Philo deeply valued the purity and discipline that characterized their way of life, seeing them as an ideal of piety and devotion. In his writings, he presents the therapeutae not only as hermits removed from the world but as models of virtue and wisdom, highlighting their renunciation of material possessions and their focus on spiritual pursuit. This admiration for asceticism reflects an important aspect of Philo's thinking: his belief in the need for the purification of the soul as a means to achieve true philosophical and religious understanding. For Philo, asceticism was not merely a physical practice but an integral discipline involving the mind, body, and spirit. This view was radical in a Hellenistic context dominated by a variety of philosophical schools that often valued theory over practice. By promoting asceticism, Philo not only provided a practical guide for those seeking spiritual perfection but also offered a bridge between Greek philosophy and Jewish teachings, demonstrating that true wisdom requires personal sacrifice and dedication to a higher ideal. Number 1. Ambassador to Caligula. Philo of Alexandria distinguished himself not only as a scholar and profound thinker but also as a crucial actor in the political sphere of his time, particularly evidenced by his role as an ambassador to the Emperor Caligula. In the year 40 AD, Philo led a delegation of Alexandrian Jews to Rome to protest against the severe measures imposed by Flaccus, the then prefect of Egypt, and to seek protection against the growing violence and anti-Semitic riots in Alexandria. This mission was of utmost importance, not only for the safety and welfare of the Jewish community in Alexandria but also for its political and religious significance, as it required direct dialogue and negotiation with Caligula, known for his erratic behavior and despotism. Philo's experience as an ambassador to Caligula revealed the complexity of the relationships between the Roman imperial powers and the Jewish communities in the Mediterranean. Although the mission did not achieve all its desired objectives, as Caligula did not fully address the delegation's requests, it served to highlight the vulnerability of ethnic and religious minorities in the Roman Empire. Furthermore, it provided Philo with direct material and experience that would deeply influence his thinking and later writings. This interaction with imperial power is not only a testament to his leadership and courage but also underscores the importance of diplomacy and dialogue in times of crisis. Philo's ability to represent and defend the interests of his community on the international stage is a highlight of his legacy, demonstrating his dedication not only to philosophy and theology but also to justice and social welfare.